Hello, hi, hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel and my page here, Bella the Secret Psychic, and thanks for all of your patience. And I've already noticed that I've made a bit of a boo-boo because I've not turned the sound down on something else so that I don't double hear myself. So not as prepared as I thought. Anyway, welcome. Thanks very much for everybody. If you're watching and this is the first time you're watching me, I'm Bella the Secret Psychic and I do live talks every week. This is my community where I encourage growth, wisdom and strength in all sorts of talks that are to do with personal growth, abundance and spirituality. So please do, you're very, very welcome, let's say. As you can see, I'm lost for words today because I'm not as prepared as I normally am. That's because I've had a crazy, super exciting day, but it's been really manic and I've had a bit of a weekend like that. So firstly, thank you to everyone who's bared and had a lot of patience with me for this weekend in terms of personal orders that people have made via my website. I'm getting through everybody. I do have a backlog, but it will take me some time, so for some people it may not be until tomorrow, but do bear with me and I do thank you very much for your patience. But you know, I have been busy. As you can see from one of my earlier posts, I was at Britain's Got Talent with the choir that I've been with for the last sort of 3 years. We got asked actually by the producers of the company to actually go and do an audition, not in front of the judges but in front of the executive producers, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we get through to at least see Simon Cowell at the very least. That would be cool, but who knows. And it went well. Apart from the second song that we sang, we couldn't hear the music, so we were slightly too fast, but we shall see. But it was super exciting and there were so many other people and it was really, really cool. So again, that's just to fill you in on my crazy unexpected weekend, because it was extremely last minute when they asked us to go and do it. But I do thank everybody for their patience again, for those who have been waiting. So I kind of want to see who's here, so do say hello, don't be shy. We were talking about soul contracts in this live feed. Do comment if you've got something to say, if you've got a question that's about soul contracts, or perhaps the soul contract that you have in particular that you're not sure about, which one it may fall into. And I'm going to go through the categories and say if I'm able to answer it, I will. If not, I will come back to you later in the section or in direct message and message you then. And also it'd be really great actually if you, when you make a comment, it'd be really, really cool if you could actually say what country you are actually viewing from, because that would be really cool as well. And I can see, hi Tracy, nice to see you here, and hello Amy, and hello Stacey as well, and Jess, hello as well. So I'm glad you're all here. Right, so this is probably maybe one of my shorter live feeds, one because of my poor preparation, but it does cover all the stuff. So we are going to be talking about soul contracts, and then again I've done my slides as I usually do, but then after I finished those slides, I'm then basically going to answer some questions that I had previously that had been sent to me before this live stream to get through them, and again any other questions that come through from people who are watching. So before, hey Claire, hi Boston, Stacey's from Boston, and we've got Terry from California. Come on guys. Louise Robinson as well, hi, thanks so much. The other thing I've got to learn not to do, because I'm seeing you there and I'm waving like you're in the room, which I've noticed on my videos, but I can't help myself, it's like a natural thing. So anyway, as I go now to my slides and go through how I sort of and shown in my understanding of what soul contracts is, and then I'm going to break down, like it says, there's some sets of them. If you have any questions that come to mind for you, just say, and we'll see how we go. So a little bit flying by the seat of my pants on this one, but here we go. So I'm going to go over to my next screen and kick us all off with what are soul contracts? Right, okay, so just to start off, a soul contract or a soul agreement are kind of pre your incarnation to this sort of human experience, and there are contracts that you have between you or other individuals, but also it can just be overall about experience. You've decided the experiences that you have wanted to experience in order to create expansion in growth within yourself, but actually expansion within all consciousness. And if you watch my video about spirit guides, because those spirit guides are here to kind of help you to achieve what you've kind of signed up to experience. They're there to keep you on track in terms of the role that you've set yourself out in this human experience. And they either do this because they also want to learn via you, or they are there to help you to navigate because they have experiences that are aligned to what it is you're trying to learn, that they can best help you navigate through the experiences that you have chosen. So the theory behind kind of the soul kind of contract kind of involves life scenarios that you agreed basically and mapped out quite thoroughly prior to your birth, and your kind of soul kind of chooses the relationship or the family ties based on the lessons that you wish to learn in your human experience. So sometimes that can be a bit tricky, particularly if you've had some experiences in your life that don't feel very good. But I always say, even with those experiences, they have shaped the person that you are now. And that if you look back at every bad experience, there has been growth or some positive for the most. And if you haven't got to that place yet, then you will do. Because the experiences, as hard or as good as they are experiences that you have wanted to, because it feeds all into consciousness. If you never know what a bad experience is, how do you know what a good one is? How can you then set your intentions or your vibration towards better choices or better experiences if you don't experience the tough ones, if that makes sense? Soul agreements are not intended to be restrictive. So it's not like, gosh, you said, right, I want these 5 experiences in my life, or these 20 experiences in life, that you can't have the free will or the free choice to actually change those vibrations. And then when and if you choose to do that, because perhaps part of your experience was to actually become more awakened in this lifetime, so that you understand consciousness and spirituality, that actually you then, once you've reached that level of experience, means that you have more free will and free choice to set the human experiences that you choose to want to have, which once you get that, it can only lead you towards joy and abundance, because actually once you grasp that aspect and you've gone through the experiences that you've needed to kind of learn the human experiences, it means that you can set all your experiences to be positive, because let's just say, well, our purpose here is not to suffer. Our purpose here is actually to be towards joy and abundance, but it's about learning how to understand separate, I should say, the human aspect to the higher self and the consciousness. Sorry if I'm being a bit too deep, but it is deep stuff. Right. So let's just say, contractually speaking, you might say that a soul agreements have a built-in out clause. So you can opt out of some lessons perhaps that you think, actually I've learnt enough, I'd like to change my vibration and be matched to other guides, to have different types of experiences that are better suited for me while I live this human experience, this human aspect of me right now. Even the best made plans and goals don't always work out in life, and neither do larger spiritual goals, and the spiritual being doesn't always have the let's be realistic mentality, let's say, in the human incarnation. So soul agreements can and are often renegotiated, let's say, behind the scenes throughout our lifetimes, to adjust to situations that disrupt the original ideological scenario. You know, it's like any contract, it doesn't have to be fixed. And so I think that is where you get the balance between some fixed points in life versus then at a human level and our spiritual level, that we can choose to change them. Unlike the more kind of, there are some let's say, rigid karmic connections that people who are connected through soul agreements choose to hang out together for a variety of reasons. So kind of imagine a conversation between a pre-incarnated soul buddy, let's say, saying, wow, it'd be really cool if the next time around we could kind of arrange to be siblings or business partners or lovers or whatever. A karmic relationship tends to have, let's say, an urgency type of energy to it, bringing individuals together to return a favour, repay a debt, work out their differences, or to make amends for past misdeeds in a previous incarnation. When karma is in the mix, relationships can feel uncomfortable or binding, as if there is kind of no escape. Whereas ones where we are connected to through agreement, like upon our pre-birth agreement, let's say, is usually the friends who make us laugh, a trusty mentor, a favourite sibling. Our solar contracts or spiritual contracts are usually designed with one or more outlaws basically built in to be more freeing. We don't usually feel a sense of obligation in our contractual relationships, let's say, versus the obligation that we necessarily feel with karmic relationships. And I will break down the kind of different sets. There is also an agreement that sometimes we have, which is called, I like to call, tough love soul agreement. So this kind of soul agreement that's based on sort of tough love, for example, a soul may want to experience rejection. It may want to experience abandonment or some other difficult emotion in the human life classroom. Other souls agree to take on the role of the nemesis, let's say. Try looking into the eyes of your enemy, for example. You may be surprised to see a friendly soul looking lovingly back at you. And that's something to kind of think about as well. So that's a kind of very sort of quick sort of introduction, but I'm going to sort of move on to another slide to kind of talk about some more stuff. Okay, so the 5 types of let's say soul contracts you can have. First one is with your parents. So again, prior to you incarnating or choosing to have a new human experience, you've chosen your parents, or let's say you've become a vibrational match to your parents based on what experiences you wanted to learn. They had the right DNA, they were in the right set of circumstances to help align you vibrationally to the lessons that you chose for yourself to have expansion on. And again, for some people, let's say if you haven't had the best experience with your parents, may question that, but actually you have chosen to have those experiences in order to shape you to where you are today, and in order, in terms of their vibration, to help them, let's say, fulfill some contractual experiences that they wanted to experience as well. The second one is a karmic relationship. So I kind of touched on that in my last kind of previous slide, but they are the ones which feel a lot more challenging, but feel so much more urgent, and they can sometimes often feel not so good, but they are the best, I would say, type of contractual relationships that we have with people, because they basically help us with our expansion. They help us to grow. They give us growth. And without, if every lesson in life was easy and every experience in life was easy, how on earth would you expand to, beyond everything being, easy peasy? If you had homework and all you had to do was learn to count to 1 to 10 and that was it, you'd be very limited. You wouldn't have the growth and expansion. You wouldn't get to advanced maths. You wouldn't get to advanced algebra. And this is kind of what these kind of relationships have. And even though they are often quite short term or have a lifespan. You have agreed with that other person's vibration, let's say, to experience those connections. And like I said in the previous one, it might be that you kind of said with that karmic person in a previous life, let's resolve this issue that we had in the last one, or let's be siblings, or whatever this is. And that's where those connections are about as well. The third one is the soulmate connection, which is often what a lot of people seek out, actually, and people don't often realize or recognize that we actually have more than one soulmate, and soulmates are not necessarily lovers. They often are, but actually soulmates are our friends, soulmates are lovers. They are more than just what's traditional, and we have more than one of those connections. And again, we have chosen, or we have, you know, contractually agreed in some kind of way with that kind of energy, or we become a vibrational match to certain people because of our life intentions in terms of the experiences that we want. Now, these soulmate connections, sometimes, depending on what it is that we want to have from that experience, may often have what I call challenges at the very early beginnings of those connections. But not all soulmate connections have those challenges. A lot of soulmate connections should be free-flowing, should be easier, and they again help you vibrationally towards and with those connections, all of you or both of you, working towards vibrational intentions that you both match or meet. Any challenges that you have, particularly if they are kind of relationship, love kind of soulmate connections, often you only face at the early parts of a connection in order to help you to overcome and grow and learn, and then afterwards again move smoothly forward together in the way that has been intended. Accidental encounters, which I believe I've spelt wrong. Anyway, accidental encounters are those one-off scenarios that kind of happen sort of, you know, very, very, very rarely in life, where you might accidentally meet somebody in a park bench, or you meet them in the shop and they smile at you, or they tell you to read a book, or give you a word of wisdom that somehow you remember for the rest of your life. You don't even know their name. You might have seen something on television where somebody said something, but it shaped an experience for you, like profoundly, that you never kind of let go of. They are not necessarily, let's say, accidental. They are a purposely, let's say, along with your guides, help to kind of reroute you or steer you back on the tasks of your original set intentions that you set for yourself in terms of your own growth and expansion. And the fifth type is mentors, teachers. So these are people that you seek out or encounter through your life that actually progress you either in basic, you know, everyday kind of learning on an area that you've wanted to expand in. So example, if you wanted to be a nurse, you will obviously gravitate towards people who are in the health industry, who will then help you to grow and expand. But also on a spiritual level, you may be choosing spiritual advisors, or you may choose a certain religion, or, you know, a priest, or whatever this is, in order to help your expansion when it comes to a spiritual aspect of you, or a personal ideology that you've set yourself in terms of how you sort of set career developments for you as well. And actually, just to quickly go back to teachers and also karmic relationships, they can also show up in that way as well. So very quick example from my own experiences, I had actually earlier this year, I'd left a corporate role which I'd sort of, let's say, only been in for a very short amount of time after leaving somewhere that I'd been for many, many years. And I was very excited about the development prospects of that, and actually found that my boss, who happened to be extremely senior, because I was in a very senior position at the time, I hated her, she hated me. And actually it was like a very difficult karmic connection that I had, that then led me away from leaving that safety net of that corporate role and actually throwing myself much more into what I'd always kind of done sort of part-time, which is what I do now full-time, the kind of spiritual aspect of what I've always done. And at the time I was very upset with that connection that I had with that person, and I felt very much that I was being pushed away from something that was my comfort zone. But actually, on reflection, looking back, I'm very grateful and very thankful for what that soul and what that person did for me, because actually it led me into a place where actually I'm vibrationally much more joyful. I have better reach in terms of how being able to be effective in helping others, which primarily is my soul's purpose. So without that karmic connection to help push me, and even though there was resistance from me at the time, I'm actually incredibly grateful. So that's just to give you an example how people can be karmic and mentors at the same time. Also, you can have that again with accidental encounters, who can also be mentors and teachers. They can cross over. So that's just a quick overview of the 5 types of soul contracts you can have with individuals.
Hello, hi there. You can tell I rushed this. I was literally typing it out really quickly, so apologies. Next time I'll have more time, and silly auditions from Britain's Got Talent won't get in the way. So I think sometimes when people talk about soul contracts, it can sometimes be a conversation starter. It can sometimes be a conversation stopper as well, because sometimes there are some aspects of that depending on how you view things, sometimes can be a bit controversial or can feel disappointing, because the natural thing in your human aspect is to think to yourself, well, why on earth would I choose for X, Y and Z to happen, particularly if they were traumatic, let's say. But I always, because for those of you who know me really well, I'm slightly annoyingly positive. It's about looking at those aspects, whether they are past or even whether they're happening for you right now in this moment, and actually seeing how the growth that is happening within you, or the growth that has happened because of that. It's a bit like when I said, if maths, if you could only count to 1 to 10, then you'd be done with life. But imagine how boring that would be. That would be it. You'd just be walking around going 1, 2, 3, count to 10, and then going back to the start again. And that's pretty much why we choose to have those experiences. Let's just say that before we choose to have these experiences, even though we know that there's going to be an impact on our soul and an impact on our consciousness, and then that's all filtered out to kind of all consciousness, and so therefore not just do you expand, but the whole of it, consciousness expands. But also your guides who work with you, perhaps they are vibrationally linked to you, because actually they want to also learn that experience too. It's all about growth and expansion. But let's just say that when you decide to make those contracts, they come from a place of love, no matter what, no matter how hard they are. And if you always look back at past experiences that you've had, even the difficult ones, if they haven't expanded you, or let's just say if you look at a group of individuals who have experienced something that perhaps has been negative, how that actually, at an evolutionary point, actually helps humanity, or a group or a section in humanity, actually progress and expand. So sometimes experiences are not just about us expanding, but actually about us as humans expanding overall. Otherwise, if we didn't, we'd be stuck in the dark ages. And actually for some places they still are stuck in the dark ages, and so that expansion still needs to happen. And we're actually, for a lot of people, moving into a place now where we are becoming more awakened, more enlightened, where the expansion is becoming a lot more quicker. And I think that's got everything to do with social media and how we can sort of, in a way, reach out to people. But also that, if you want to get very deep into this, how social media and that network is actually an expression of what it is to be in all consciousness, where everything is linked. But anyway, I can see some questions. So Amy McLaughlin says, sorry, I hope I pronounced that right, my dear. So why do you think I keep repeating the same patterns with the same person? Is it because I haven't learned what I need to learn yet? Well, Amy, I feel there's a couple of things going on here, because you know I said about the mentor teacher. I feel in that's your situation with the person that you have in mind is very much because you're their teacher. So for you, it feels like it's that you're having growth, and there is parts growth there for you, but let's say the expansion lies in more in that person, but then when that happens with that person, the both of you then will expand. So it feels that you may feel that you're repeating certain patterns, particularly if it's with one individual, but actually what you're finding is you're that person's teacher. Even, and you may argue sometimes, you know, do I have to be around them to actually teach them? No, because if they've met you, you've had an effect on them anyway. You've left a blueprint, which, let's say, behind the scenes is turning the cogs over. So that's how I perceive what you, in answer to your question. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay, I've got some other questions as well, and also because some of you might be thinking, oh, she left out one, like really big one that lots of you always talk about, which is twin flame. I have left that out purposely because that's a whole nother live stream. That's lots of people have different thoughts about it, and there are lots of written things when it comes to twin flames. I see twin flames similar but different to how other people perhaps may view it, and that's, so for me that's a whole other stream. So that, and I don't necessarily, let's say, class that in the contract, and that again would be explained in another stream for another time. So that's something to look forward to. So I have some other questions as well that I got beforehand because I got some people. So I've got another Amy actually. Where's her question gone? So Amy said, what contract do I have with David and also with her family, and what are the terms that you have with your contract? But also, yeah, that was it. So I would say here, just to focus on your family aspect, in terms of the contract that you have, obviously it's parental, but also you'll have a mixture, but it's mostly karmic idea when it comes to your family. And the things that I was getting personally from my guides was around tradition, but also around like restructure is the only way that I can do this, like taking away the restrictions in different ways. And hopefully that will make sense to you, but it's the relation you have is karmic. It is good, but there are pockets, let's say, where I just feel there's lots of restrictions, and that restrictions is a bit of when I talked in my slide about me feeling restricted and moving out of my comfort zone, that sometimes you have to do the bold things, and that's overall what I get with that. And then with David, that you talk about, David's coming up as a soulmate connection, but there is personal growth, let's say, with that, with both of you, but mainly again with the element that comes up with for David in particular, and albeit majority of most soulmate connections should be smooth running, particularly if there are children that we have a soulmate connection with, or whether they are friends. But sometimes you have to face a challenge, let's say, because you've kind of agreed it between each other. So sometimes when you see having a challenge with somebody as like hurting you, I kind of want you to reframe it in your mind and think to yourself, actually we agreed this so that I would have this experience for expansion, but also so they would have this experience for expansion. So I hope that makes sense to you. What have we got here? Yes, another Amy and David. I know, isn't it weird, isn't it? Maybe there's something in the universe about Amy's and David's as well. So I have another animals. Okay, so do animals choose to have soul contracts? They do. In fact, again, that's probably another another live stream, but actually we can also choose to be animals as well, because we may choose to live that experience. We may choose to want to be an animal, but actually animals do choose their souls, and they could have previously also had a human experience. So the only thing that I can give you an example over that is, I mean I could have more babies if I wanted to, but I have one baby. He's like going to be 21 in like 3 weeks time. Can you believe it? I feel old. But anyway, I don't have any more children apart from my stepdaughter. But 3 or 4 years ago, me and my husband decided we'd like to have a dog because that was the alternative. So we got ourselves a dog. But if I'm honest with you, we've got one dog and then we've got 2 dogs, and actually I've got 3 cats as well, so we've got like a little zoo going on. But our dogs are our babies, and I can tell you for now, if I didn't choose to have dogs, they would have come out as humans. And I know that might sound a bit weird, but I think for those who have dogs will totally understand what I'm talking about. Those I know, and that's the claircognizance. For those of you who've seen the extrasensory abilities, I know they are my children, and trust me, they ain't like it anyway. I do know I do know those souls chose to be. I mean, there's sometimes some animals, particularly dogs in particular, will choose to be a guide in particular, or they would choose to be a teacher also in a way. They would choose to be your friend, and that's why quite often we bond quite closely, especially if we've got a need or an intention, let's say, in our lives to have unconditional love, which dogs, without me gushing about them, that's their sole purpose as well. Yes, I know your dogs are your children. You've got a lovely dog as well, Shell. So let's just see again. If you have any questions, what we got here, Tracy Wilson says, what lessons am I supposed to learn from Robert? From Robert. Robert, the way Robert's energy shows to me, this is really interesting because I'm getting a lot about Robert that is very challenging, I think is the word to use. I'm getting a lot of things that you might not want on live feed, but I'm just getting back your connection with Robert, that there's some challenging things, but it is definitely long-winded. So I would say here, this is a soulmate connection that I feel that I'm picking up in terms of the contract that you have with this person. But the one thing that my guys say is something that, I talked about not having to honour certain contracts. This comes up quite a lot when I speak about Robert, so maybe that makes sense or maybe it doesn't, and maybe I can direct message you on this. But it's coming up with soulmates, and again, sometimes some soulmate connections, because of the decisions that we have said to ourselves in terms of wanting to expand and grow. Some can be a bit more challenging, and some can be challenging just like for a teeny bit, and some can be challenging for a long time. And there's something about yours and Robert's that seems to be stretching, let's say. And again, you're coming up as a teacher in that connection. So I hope that kind of makes sense for you, Tracy. I do have, bear with me, Melissa, that message, but I don't think she's here today. But Melissa messaged, what is my contract with my sister-in-law? And that's from Melissa. Definitely karmic, like super karmic, like super not good karmic, I have to say. But like I said, even though it doesn't feel pleasant, it's kind of like look your enemy in the eye, and actually if you look deep enough, you actually see a kind soul looking back at you because you've actually asked for this experience. And I feel very much with your sister-in-law, there's a power struggle that's going on here, because she wants you to change and you want her to change. And until both of you decide who's going to not give up necessarily, but choose a better path, let's say, that brings yourself to highness instead of engaging in the battle, you'll just continue to go in that way. And it feels very much from her energy that she's a lot more stubborn than what you are, is what I want to say about that as well. So you might want to think about that. But definitely karmic, definitely I get a huge sense of urgency about it, but I get a lot of pressure. So I do hope that's helped. Cara Lee, hey, do I walk away from Matt? Well, this is, I never like to tell people what to do, because I think here that's the one gift that you all have, which is about your own free will. But what I aim to do when I do readings for people is to kind of give you the information that I see to be, and the current path and your current intention that you're on, so that hopefully you can make a decision. So it's Matt, isn't it? Hey, do you walk away from Matt? You know, there's an argument that would say that the fact that you feel that way, then yes. But I think, again, I think it's a bit more complicated than that. And I would say here there is something about Matt and yours connection that you could change the contract about. But actually, I think by you trying to change the contract with Matt, then Matt would change. because he'd renegotiate. The way it's been put to me, he'd renegotiate a new contract if only you were brave, and that's pretty much what my guides have said. So again, I hope that makes sense to you. So yeah, those were kind of the 3 questions that I got before I started this. And yeah, so sometimes, and hopefully again you can always look back at this, you know, this video to kind of try to understand, but all of our experience that we have is this growth, expansion. It's all about love. We choose to have them, even the most toughest. And trust me, all of us at different stages in our life have gone through tough things, but hopefully, and sometimes if you're still in a space where you can't see it, but hopefully after time you see exactly the reason. And the greatest analogy that I like to use with most people that I work with, where it is tough, especially if you've been a mother or maybe want to be a mother, is when you have a baby and you're going through labour. It doesn't feel good, does it? It's horrible, 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 horrible. But you know at the end you're going to get a baby, and you know it's going to be joy. So that's kind of how I like to look at things when, let's say, you've got a bit of the clause in the contract that you didn't quite realise what you were signing up to in terms of the experience. At the end, what you get out of it should be joy and abundance in the end, but also learning how to turn those experiences to your advantage and not to let them keep you a prisoner, let's say, if that makes sense. So this was a really short and sweet one today, because I had a crazy weekend, so I didn't have as much time to prepare, but I really do hope that in a nutshell this has been informative for you in terms of contracts and soul contracts, and what and who and why we have those encounters, like in brief. And of course at another time I'm happy to dive deep, let's say, into this a lot more deeply than I have been as well. Again, if you like this, please do share, please do like as well. I greatly appreciate it as well, and it's great to see so many people from around the world. New Zealand, we've got a couple of people from America, and I know from some people I know there who are who I know that are also from the UK. So again, thank you so much for joining me all over the world, and I really hope you have a really great evening. So it's goodbye from me tonight. Take care.